Time now for a look at what's happening in our community. Brought to you by Leith Nissan in Cary.
It's 8 o'clock. Take time to secure your pets in the car. A reminder from HendrickCars.com.
I'm Sharon Tazwell, and this is your Spectrum News in 90. The State Department of Health and Human Services opened a new no-appointment COVID testing site Wednesday. It's at WakeMed Soccer Park in Cary. That's the home of North Carolina Football Club and NC Courage. It's open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. NC State has seen over 1,300 active COVID-19 cases since the start of the new year. Right now, over 1,000 students and nearly 140 staff are either in isolation or quarantine. That's more than all of last semester combined. And the Chinese Lantern Festival has set an attendance record this year with more than 200,000 visitors. This is video from the festival back in 2019. That year, 121,000 people visited. The festival is open every year at the Kogabuth Amphitheater for 7 weeks from mid-November to early January. Time now for a check of your weather.
High pressure gave us a cold start this morning across North Carolina, but it actually gave us milder daytime highs, mainly in the 50s, as we work our way into Wednesday afternoon. Well, we're going to be seeing a few more clouds develop as we work our way through the night. Not going to be quite as cold tonight as it has been recently, so we'll pick up a few clouds. Lows again, upper 20s, near 30 degrees, and then for tomorrow, partly sunny skies and mild with highs in the 50s.
Hi there, thanks for joining us on Spectrum News 1. I'm Sharon Tazwell.
And I'm Rob Wu. We're following the latest on the stories impacting our community.
And we start with a look at the death of Jason Walker in Fayetteville and what's transpiring in the days after. Saturday, family members say Walker was shot and killed by an off-duty deputy with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office walking home from work.
The release of 911 calls is shedding more light on what we know about what took place. And people who live there say they want to see action now. A march Wednesday evening in Fayetteville to make that known, and that is where we find our Spectrum News 1 reporter, Patrick Thomas. Patrick.
Rob, I'm standing near the intersection where police records show Jason Walker was shot and killed on Saturday. Anytime now, marchers are going to be walking to the intersection corner right here for a memorial in his honor. Now, in a 911 call, the off-duty deputy who shot Walker says he shot the man to defend his family and claims he jumped on the hood of his truck. Now, the organizer of this march that is set for this evening disputes that and says a lack of transparency is a running theme for law enforcement in North Carolina. On Saturday afternoon, 37-year-old Jason Walker was hundreds of feet away from home, walking back from work when his life came to an end. Kathy Gregg says he should still be alive.
Jason Walker has been in the community. He's a very high-spirited, nice man, willing to give his life for people he don't know.
Greggs is the organizer of the Fayetteville Police Accountability Community Task Force, advocating for families who have lost people at the hands of police officers.
The truth is, we have and has always been in a racial tension here in the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County when it comes to police corruption, police accountability, and transparency.
Off-duty Cumberland County Sheriff's Lieutenant Jeffrey Hash says he stopped in the middle of Bingham Drive, almost hitting Walker. Next is an excerpt from a 911 call between the lieutenant and an operator after Hash shot Walker.
Fayetteville 911, what's out? Just an emergency.
Yes, ma'am, it's an emergency. I'm on Shenandoah and Bingham Drive. I just had a male jump on my vehicle and break my windshield. I just shot him.
And the law enforcement have a code And the code is to definitely protect each other and themselves. So who protects the people? The compassion for a human being.
Lieutenant Hash is now on administrative leave, as is policy for anyone wearing the badge involved in an officer-involved shooting. Greggs is now helping the family navigate the aftermath. She says this won't be the last time something like this happens.
He is a man, and it could have been you. We will continue to be out here protesting. We will continue to be out here asking questions for justice.
One note to mention, the family has retained famed attorney Benjamin Crump for this situation. Now, the State Bureau and Federal Bureaus of Investigation will be looking into the matter to see if Jason Walker's rights were violated when he was killed on Saturday afternoon. In Fayetteville, I'm Patrick Thomas reporting for Spectrum News 1.
Hospitalizations continue climbing. As of Wednesday, nearly 4,100 North Carolinians are in the hospital with COVID. Nearly 640 patients were admitted in the last 24 hours.
And this comes as the state adds more than 25,000 new cases. More than 30% of all tests taken are coming back positive. Of those in the hospital, 717 are in the intensive care unit, and that represents 18% of all people in the hospital. And Governor Roy Cooper announced Wednesday a new policy that would allow state employees to use paid volunteer days to provide support in schools. The governor says this will help combat staff shortages in school districts statewide. This opens the door for state employees to fill in as cafeteria staff, bus drivers, and substitute teachers. Now, that program is underway now and will end February 15th. Experts at Duke Health say that current blood supply levels could be catastrophic if we don't get more donations. Blood reserves nationwide are at an all-time low. Dr. Nicholas Bandarenko is a pathologist with Duke, and he says the shortage could force doctors to decide who can get blood and in what situations.
If this gets worse, we may be in a more difficult situation where we have to decide who gets blood and who might not. And that is a very scary moment to even ponder.
Very true. And he says you should not worry about getting or spreading COVID-19 by donating blood, and that even donating 1 unit can help save a life.
Despite a ruling by Superior Court judges, the fight over North Carolina's electoral maps are far from over. The Southern Coalition for Social Justice has already said they will appeal this latest decision. And speaking with Capitol Tonight anchor Tim Boyan, the Speaker of the House says that no partisan data was taken into account when deciding how to draw the lines for new districts.
There were reasons other than partisan considerations to draw those districts. And when the map makers were drawing the districts, they did not take into account partisanship. They didn't take into account racial data. They didn't look at those things.
Speaker Moore went on to say that the maps could have been drawn to more heavily favor Republicans than they already do.
Stay with us. Later on this hour, we'll hear from both Republicans and Democrats whose campaigns have been affected by this decision, and learn how this affects our state's most controversial representative who's running for re-election.
Well, coming up next, we're checking in with the Weather Center to take a look at the latest chance for snow this weekend.
Those preparations already underway for the possibility of a wintry mix.
Once we run out of ice melt and stuff, we're out, so come sooner than later to come and get it.
We check in with a hardware store to see what people are stocking up on.
That and more next on Spectrum News 1. I'm Sharon Taswell.
And I'm Rob Wu. This may be good news or bad news depending on whether your team snow or no snow, but we are getting a closer look at the potential for a winter storm this weekend.
Let's get the latest in your Weather on the Ones forecast.
You've made your way back to the Weather on the Ones Forecast Center as we continue to work our way through the nighttime hours. Number one, it's not going to be as cold as it was last night. We will see a little more cloud cover across the area, and that will help hold temperatures up just a little bit. But those temperatures, yeah, they were a tad bit chilly this morning. Most of the area in the 20s. Henderson, you slipped down into the upper teens at 19 degrees, but a nice recovery. Daytime highs mainly in the 50s as we work our way toward Wednesday afternoon, and we'll see more highs in the 50s as we go into tomorrow afternoon. High pressure in control, giving us good weather today. Now that high is moving to the south, and we're going to pick up a few more clouds as we go through the night. Like I said, with that additional cloud cover, that will help hold temperatures up just a little bit more. Looking ahead to Thursday, Triangle air quality good code green, Sandhills air quality good code green on Thursday. Also, as far as your UV index on Thursday, well, with a little more cloud cover, we're looking at a low UV index at a level of 1. So on the surface map, there's the high pressure, a few clouds as we work our way through the night. Like I said, not as cold tonight as it has been in recent nights. Lows in the upper 20s and low 30s by Thursday morning. Thursday, we're going to range anywhere from partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies. Daytime highs 50s area wide. This area of low pressure, by the way, off the coast, giving a couple of sprinkles to eastern North Carolina, and I'm talking extreme eastern North Carolina. We look to see a little more sunshine on Friday and near normal daytime highs as we go into Friday afternoon. So our forecast for tonight, some clouds out there, cold but not as cold, with overnight lows upper 20s and low 30s. For your day on Thursday, everybody's seeing highs in the 50s with anywhere from partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies. Checking out the 3-day forecast, a little more clouds and sun on Thursday, highs in the 50s, staying near normal with highs in the low 50s, and partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies on Friday. Increasing clouds on Saturday ahead of the next system that could give us some wintry weather by Sunday. More on that coming up, and upper 30s for your highs Saturday afternoon. That's your forecast. We're going to leave you with Storm Tracker Doppler radar.
All across North Carolina, we're preparing for a possible snow event this weekend, but just how much our state will see, well, that is still up in the air. So we stopped by a Raleigh hardware store where we learned they are preparing for the worst.
Our Spectrum News 1 reporter Evan Siri joins us from Burks Brothers Hardware Store as they prepare for the possible snow. Evan.
Rob, Sharon, good evening. These shovels, this firewood, some of this ice melt over here was all placed out in front of Burke Brothers Hardware Store in Raleigh this morning in anticipation of this weekend's possible winter weather event. Now, last year, it barely snowed in Raleigh, as we all know, so they are taking advantage of all this supplies and keeping it handy. Now it's ready to be sold.
Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn is no stranger to controversy, but now he faces a challenge aimed squarely at whether he's even allowed to run for office.
I haven't seen one of these kinds of challenges in about a century.
Earlier this week, 11 North Carolina voters, including 2 former North Carolina State Supreme Court judges, filed a candidacy challenge with the State Board of Elections. They argue Cawthorn violates the 14th Amendment, which was ratified shortly after the Civil War, and prohibits people from serving in Congress who have engaged in insurrection.
This group is arguing that this should apply to Madison Cawthorn because of his role in January 6th.
Cawthorn spoke at the rally supporting then-President Donald Trump, who argued the election was stolen from him. Thousands who attended then proceeded to the Capitol. Many of them swarmed into the building, hoping to block Congress from certifying Joe Biden as the winner of the election. In a statement, a Cawthorn spokesperson said over 245,000 patriots from western North Carolina elected Congressman Cawthorn to serve them in Washington. A dozen activists who are comically misinterpreting and twisting the 14th Amendment for political gain will not distract him from that service.
There are going to be people who look at this and say, you know, it's about a dozen or so voters who are, you know, very clearly anti-Madison Cawthorn. Why should this have any significance?
Madison Cawthorn is already making essentially that argument. His folks have used this as a fundraising opportunity.
Chris Cooper, a politics professor at Western Carolina University, says it's hard to know what happens with the challenge since there is no modern precedent for it. Either way, the group involved with the challenge says this will be the first of many around the country.
This is not a claim brought based on the North Carolina Constitution, but a claim that is brought based on the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And that argument, we'll think, will cut across multiple states.
And Burke Brothers will be open all weekend long if you're one of those last-minute shoppers. And also some winter weather tips, safety tips for you tonight from the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety. They recommend keeping your thermostat to at least 55 degrees Fahrenheit to prevent plumbing from freezing. And they recommend letting all faucets drip in case of extreme cold temperatures. I'm in Raleigh, Evan Siri, Spectrum News 1.
Winter in North Carolina, oh, it's so unpredictable. But what we can predict is farmers losing money when bad weather hits their crops. It's Cather Smith's 7th season pruning her blueberry bushes. With more than 1,200 bushes, you'd expect thousands of little blueberries by spring. But late freezes in North Carolina the last 5 years has drastically dwindled down her barrels. And last year, she lost 50% of her blueberries to these changes in weather patterns. And that means less money and less cider and wine.
It's frustrating and disappointing, but I know it comes with the territory of farming. So we have to, take what we can get and work with what's available to us.
Well, she says thousands of pounds of fruit is used to make drinks at her cidery and winery, Botanist and Barrel. In 2021, they weren't able to make any blueberry wine because they didn't get enough blueberries. So she depends on other farmers' crops to help keep this business afloat.
Harry Reid made the world a better place.
The late Senator Harry Reid lies in state Wednesday. How lawmakers in the Capitol honor the life and legacy of the beloved senator.